Three. Welcome back, everybody, to these crazy people who just keep eating meat and can't stop talking about it or answer their phone at the same time. And as Justin just pointed out, we are going to cover an article from Women's Health magazine, and we didn't bring any women to talk about it, but that's all right. I'm sure the audience will forgive us, right?
For sure.
So let me share that article so people can see what it looks like. Naturally, we'll try and could you guys see it?
Yeah, right now we can. Yeah.
Okay, so it's called "The Carnivore Diet is Even More Effective Than Keto and Can Help You Melt 10 pounds in 1 week." That's a pretty staggering claim. And of course, we're all very happy to see a positively oriented article about the carnivore diet. So naturally, we're super excited to talk about it. I think Joe dug this one up originally. So, what do you guys have to say that pertains to this article? I mean, didn't just about all of us experiment with keto before or carnivore?
Definitely. Did it for many months before.
Yeah. So, Justin, did you try keto at any point?
Not really. Like I don't know, a week or something, a week, maybe 2 weeks ish, but like I could never hit macros. I just thought this article was really cool because it's a positive, carnivore article. So, and it was written in the 20th of this year, in March. So I just think that's really cool. What's kind of funny is if you read under the title, you have, oh, and thank you, Allison Nemeth, the author. If you want to come on our program, talk more about that's who wrote it. It says by Allison Nemeth. Oh, I have no idea, but I'm just giving them credit, all right?
Right.
It is Women's Month or whatever, so we should at least try. It's funny because in the tags, it just says keto and like there's no carnivore tag. So I think that's funny. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we all are familiar with keto, but obviously we're carnivore advocates, and I don't know that. I mean, you guys don't necessarily feel like you're competing with keto so much, but carnivore is just kind of like the next step, right? I mean, that's how I always felt about it.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think keto is a good stepping stone, and I mean, hey, some people get on keto and they get everything they want. They get their health back, they feel good, they get to the weight they want. They got lots of energy. There's a lot of competitors on keto. Uh, but at the same time, it seems like keto, I think the biggest criticism I had was I think it's too short on protein.
The amazing thing about keto is that I'm always amazed by people who think carnivore is crazy that's already doing keto. And I never understood that. I'm like, man, you're like right there. Why wouldn't you think carnivore would work it out much better? But there's a bunch of them.
But I think a lot of people are too scared to jump into. Go ahead.
There's a few, keto podcasts that are like, well, if you're in carnivore, you'll be in ketosis for too long, and you'll become way too like insulin sensitive, and but they just seem to be ignorant of the physiology at that point, or like, oh, you need some veggies for the antioxidants or this or that or the hormesis, and it's just okay. You're just showing how uneducated you are. You shouldn't have a podcast,
Yes,
but
a toxic plant so that your body responds to poison.
I also think. So I was just going to say, I also think people like keto because they're still attached to those. They still have those cravings. They've got to have their fat bombs, and they can't let go of that. So that try to keep it as close to the SAD diet as possible.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, all those substitutes.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
Fake bread.
They're not willing to let go, like we have.
Just let go of the plants. The plants are bad. Yeah, I think people don't realize how short the history of eating plants is. I think once they do, they realize, hey, we weren't eating a bunch of fruits and vegetables and nuts all the time. You know, most of that's our modern controversies. You know, that it's not how we've been eating for 3 million years. I think that once you get people over that hump and you realize, yeah, well, what's left? Meat. We ate meat. We ate fat meat.
Yeah, that part's amazing too, because you know, we have keto vegetarian, keto, what is that? I forgot what they call it.
Yeah, I've seen keto stuff that was vegetarian.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they would even garner at just the low carb part, but ketotarian, that's what they call it. Ketotarian. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a slick word.
Yeah, ketotarian. Yeah. But it's nice. I guess that's why we have ketovores.
That
eats vegetarian, but high fat vegetarian diet. I pretty much keto. They're doing ketosis. So the main point of keto diet is to be in ketosis. And that's their main goal. The main goal for us, for the carnivore diet, is to eat only animals, or well, as much of the animals as possible. So it's interesting how to look at keto. So keto can be any layer. It's just very low carbs and high fat.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Did you guys, when you guys tried keto, did you wonder if there was too little protein in it for you? I mean, the big boogeyman is the gluconeogenesis, right? You eat too much protein, you're gonna spike your blood sugar. But in the end, you're like, wow, it's not really that much protein. I mean, Joe, you said your software is suggesting you eat like 800 grams of protein after that long ride. You know?
Yeah. So that was, but I mean, I started tracking my macros again, or calories. So, and it just said that I needed to consume, because I burned 4,000 calories in a ride, I needed to consume about 800 grams of protein. So it's a lot of protein. But
yeah, you couldn't eat that much ribeye, that's for sure, right?
No, and I don't think I've got enough money to sustain that over a couple of weeks either. I mean,
you have to go to an all you can eat
buffet.
Yeah.
I found when I did keto, I lost a lot of weight, and it's great because you think, oh wow, I've lost all this weight, but then you start realizing, boy, I've lost a lot of muscle as well.
Mm.
And that was one thing I noticed. I'd lost a lot of muscle. And after thinking about it for a little while, you know, the ketogenic diet is, and correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much is a plant-based diet, isn't it? Because you're eating so much lettuce and spinach and kale and nuts and avocado and
rice, cauliflower.
Yeah, and a piece of meat the size of your palm.
Flex.
You know, so it's nothing. And I found that once I went to carnivore, yeah, I put on weight, but it was, as I said to the guys, probably muscle that I put on. So I'm still lean. And it just got healthier. And mind you, being carnivore, still in ketosis as well. So people freak out. Oh, you know, it's all about the ketones, and they you know, oh, you got to be in ketosis and you got to have, you know, point whatever millimolars, whatever. But yeah, it's even on carnivore, you can still achieve it.
Of course, especially fasted carnivores. I'm constantly in ketosis, so there's no question. And is that bad for you? I don't think so. But you know, Bart actually did mention that. I don't know if you guys remember, but he did mention that Eskimos have the ability, not the non-ability of getting into ketosis. So, and he made it sound like being ketosis too long is a bad thing. But so far, I'm not finding that the case. So I don't know what too long means. What does too long mean? 10 years, 20 years, 1 year, 6 months?
It seems pretty clear that, like, you know, the the blood levels for ketone bodies that were established a long time ago, you know, they're essential for controlling seizures, particularly in children without medication. But we don't need to maintain those same levels of ketones in the bloodstream in order to realize the benefits we're looking for, right? So if you're not trying to control seizures, you're just trying to fuel your body, and you know, maybe you've got some athletic goals and you want to have a clear head. You don't have to have sustained high levels of ketones in your blood or beta hydroxybutyrate. I mean, that's the one we measure, right? And if you're on a animal-based diet, you're eating plenty of animal fat, you're going to have not just plenty of ketones, you're going to have plenty of fatty acid chains powering your body, you know, which is something that's not easy for us to measure at home. So anyways.
But even measuring ketones is a bit of, you know, I mean, everyone's aims for that 1.0 or 1.5. And they don't realize that there are people, and I remember Zach and Sean were talking with Ben Bickman, that even if just because your numbers are low doesn't mean that you're not in, you know, in keto. It's not a bad thing. It just means that your body is utilizing them much better.
Yeah, I mean, if you have high levels of ketones, it could be that you made a bunch of ketones and they're just sitting there unused, circulating.
They're just wasting them.
Yeah, right. For sure. And I mean, you could be making tons of ketones, but you do an aggressive workout or something, go cycling or do a Sean Baker 200-pound medicine ball trot around the backyard, and you're going to burn up a lot of ketones doing that. So,
oh yeah,
your blood levels are going to drop for sure. Yep. How about you?
Well, I mean, what I thought was really interesting is Sean Baker posting a video a while back of that new tool. I believe it's called Lumen, I think, that measures the scale like 1 to 5. Yeah, where like I think 1 is your fat burning, and then a 5 is like your carbohydrate burning. And if I remember right, he's been doing a few different tests, but like after a fast, I believe it says he's like carbohydrate burning, and then during his workouts, it'll say he's fat burning. So to me, it means, well, there is no permanent state of ketosis in any sense. I mean, unless you're actually fasting, unless you're doing an extended fast for a couple days, 3 days, 4 days, then yeah, I think you might actually be in ketosis if you don't eat. But I think as soon as you eat and you go back to feasting, that gluconeogenesis kicks in, and then your body acts as though, because you start producing glucose, and acts as though you have consumed carbohydrates, because the body does not need any exogenous carbohydrates because we just make our own. And I think that Lumen and that testing proves that. And so there is no permanent state of ketosis. It's nearly impossible.
Yeah, well, if I'm not mistaken, when you use up the glycogen in your muscles and your body goes to replenish it, your blood sugar levels will go up. So you'll actually see a rise in glucose when the muscles are being replenished with glycogen. So that's just part of the recovery process, right? I'll just say yes. I believe it. Answer my own question.
Did we want to read the article really quick?
Yeah, can you read it?
Yeah, I can read it.
All right, go for it. I'll put it back on the screen.
Yeah.
And we'll follow along. It's real short, so all right.
It is short and sweet. Okay. So it says here, so we are reading the carnivore diet is even more effective than keto and can help you melt 10 pounds in 1 week. Now, again, one of my main criticisms of this article is that, it's focused on weight loss, and we in the community constantly have to fight against people coming into it believing that it is a weight loss diet, when I like to describe it as a health diet, an overall health diet. And I'm sure all of us describe it a similar way. So it says here, after age 50, many of us face the same frustrating dilemma. Our appetite seems to grow just as our metabolism slows. The best solution, a carnivore diet, say devotees of the increasingly popular low-carb approach that has you bypass veggies and instead fill up on dairy and meats. How does the carnivore diet work? It's a surprisingly strategy that delivers a perfect mix of nutrients to shut down hunger and activate faster fat burning in every single cell, insists Paul Saladino, MD, author of the Carnivore Code. I'd estimate it works about 40% more quickly than a traditional keto diet, and it blows other diets out of the water. He adds that carnivore dieters flood their system with healing amino acids, so conditions like eczema, diabetes, joint pain, thyroid disease, and autoimmune issues often completely disappear. You can end up slimmer and healthier than you were decades ago. Both premenopausal and postmenopausal women report consistently shedding 1 or 2 pounds a day. Dr. Saladino knows when folks first find out that the carnivore diet eliminates veggies and all plant foods, they often wonder if it's safe. Not only is it safe for most of us, but I generally see it help people thrive, he says. One big reason is that plants contain inflammatory chemicals to defend themselves from being eaten by insects and animals. These chemicals can secretly wreak havoc inside us. It's why GI problems often resolve when people adopt a carnivore eating style. He adds that we can get all essential nutrients from animal foods, every single one, along with several we can't get from plants. How does it restore metabolism? A carnivore diet works in part like a keto diet. As you prioritize animal foods over plant foods, you can't produce enough blood sugar for fuel, explains Dr. Saladino. Your body starts running on ketones, a type of fuel made entirely from fat. Studies show this accelerates weight loss by over 1,000%. Keto is great, but carnivore takes it to a whole new level. Dr. Saladino says, credit goes in part to large amounts of stearic acid that carnivore dieters get from sources like salmon and marbled beef. Studies show that when we don't get enough stearic acid, our body turns off fat burning, he notes. And when we get loads of it after going carnivore, it reactivates little engines in our cells that have gone dormant, causing fat burning to spike, he says. Other nutrients in animal foods, including coenzyme Q10, riboflavin, zinc, and vitamin B6, B12, and K, have also been proven to enhance the body's calorie incinerating abilities. And getting plenty of protein stimulates the formation of metabolism boosting muscle. Although the effect is so powerful, a carnivore diet can bring a dead metabolism back to life. How much weight can you lose on the carnivore diet? At 265 pounds, I had a slow thyroid. My rheumatoid arthritis and gout caused a lot of pain, and my hot flashes are miserable, recalls Montreal mom Ruth Hovsespian, 55. She tried keto but didn't feel much better. I heard about carnivore on a podcast. The expert said it helped with thyroid and menopause. It seemed like she was talking to me. Recalls Ruth, who switched to mix and match meals made with ingredients like eggs, salmon, and steak. It was instantly clear veggies and fruit had been triggers for me. Her hunger, cravings, fatigue, depression, hot flashes, and pain disappeared. She began shedding up to 5 pounds a week. The healing is amazing and the weight loss is immediate. Ruth has traded her size 22s for 6s, and nutrients from animal sources won't spike blood sugar and are easier to absorb, which is why carnivore eating makes us feel so satisfied. Appetite control is so natural you don't have to track anything. Just eat all the animal foods you want. Fossils of ancient humans show that eating mainly meat spurred rapid brain development, notes the doc. Our bodies love to be fueled this way. What do you eat on the diet? Whether using the carnivore diet as a jumpstart or long-term, the goal is to avoid processed food and plants. Dairy, eggs, fish, poultry, and meat are staples. Spices, extracts, and a little stevia are fine. Want to include some plants for variety? Stick to those with the few inflammatory compounds such as olives, berries, and squash. get a doctor's okay to try this plant, especially if you have kidney or iron issues. Now, this doesn't mean that plants are off limits forever. After an initial detox period, most carnivore dieters experiment and add back some veggies, nuts, and low sugar fruit. But if you're looking for a nice jump start, or if other diets don't work or make your issues worse, a carnivore style diet can reset your system and be a game changer, says Dr. Saladino. And there's some recipes. One is a waffle sandwich. The other is chicken fingers, bacon meatballs, and there we go. So what do you guys think?
Great article. First one I've seen that's not really, slammed on the carnivore diet.
Yeah, seems like a little bit of a groundbreaker. So it's good to see some positive press, right?
Yes. And the fact that we're getting, now it's not just bashing the carnivore diet anymore. So that's nice.
And I like to make the point that these plant-based foods are toxic. Right there, they mentioned olives. I don't know if you guys know this, but olives are poisonous, right? So if you don't cure them, you can't eat them, right? That's why olives are always cured, right?
I didn't know that.
Yes. And a lot of people are allergic to olive trees.
So you couldn't just pick out an olive from an olive tree and eat it, right? First of all, it's probably not possible, right?
Yeah,
it's probably disgusting.
It'll make you sick. Yeah.
It'll make you sick. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, we could even make the argument with corn, like you can't really extract hardly any nutrients out of corn unless you process it with an alkaline, right? And so to some extent, some cultures, they prepare corn that way and you do get more nutrients out of it, but you try and live on something like corn and you'll get very sick, right?
Yeah. Well, you can boil it to the point where you can eat it like corn on a cob kind of thing, but even then,
it mostly just goes through you.
Exactly. It's pretty much going through pellets. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyways, meat doesn't do that. We eat meat, we absorb it really well, and meat is complete, right? It's interesting because I like to point out that study about the eating the oysters with the black beans. So if you feed somebody some oysters without any plants, you can watch the zinc level in their blood serum go up. You add in the black beans and you get half or less the zinc in your blood. And then a lot of people say, well, if you get it right now during COVID, it's good to have zinc. It helps prevent the virus from getting into the cells. But you should take it with something like quercetin because you need an ionophore to help transport the zinc into the cell. But the thing is that it's already present in meat. So when you're eating meat and it's got zinc, you don't have to take a supplement to help get that in. And if you don't eat it with any plants, you'll get twice as much in your blood. So there you go. That's one reason why meat is just superior.
Actually, it sounds like the reason that we do need supplements is because of plants.
I'd agree.
100%, right?
There are potentially other reasons why you might need a supplement. You might have some sort of other illness or something, or whatever, you eat poor quality meat. But I think a lot of the supplementation that works is because the plants we eat requires it of us. We all know the vegans how they have to inject vitamins and stuff eventually. Even taking oral supplementation usually isn't good enough after a while. So they just eat meat. It's all there.
Well, they eat fake meat.
Yeah, they can eat the fake meat, but it still doesn't have all the right ingredients, right? You're not going to get your carnosine, protein, creatine, beta alanine, and what's the one that helps you build muscles? What I'm forgetting.
Is it carnosine?
It's one of the
carnosine
amino acids. Anyways, I forgot the name of it, but yeah, you need a certain amount of that in order to turn on.
Oh, the leucine.
Leucine. There you go. The leucine. Yeah, those are all amino acids. We're essentially built out of proteins. Proteins are built out of amino acids. And when we eat animals, we're eating those amino acids. Whereas if we eat plants, then we have to make all those amino acids. and some of the ingredients are just missing in the plant world. So you're essentially shortcutting it by eating animals, right? Because they're already full of those amino acids. We should break them down and rebuild the proteins we need to build our bodies. That's how we evolved. Shortcutting it. No more chomping on grass all day. No more eating twigs. That's their job. That's our food's job, right?
And I guess the beauty about this is that you don't need to consume as much. Like, for argument's sake, you don't have to consume, 8 cups of lentils to get the same amount of protein from a 200-gram steak. So it's obviously, and then obviously the absorption, you absorb the meat and the nutrients much better than what you would compared to lentils, for example.
For sure. Now, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but 10 years ago or whatever, when I'm working out, I'm eating salads and rice, eating basmati rice and these complicated salads, and they're like grilled chicken breasts and garbanzo beans and sprouts and all this crap. And my appetite just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The more I worked out, the hungrier I got. And pretty soon you're like, shit, you got to eat all the time. And every time your blood sugar drops, you feel like crap. You can that hangry feeling, or just that you get shaky and queasy, because your blood sugar dropped. And I have to say that there's no way that like that's normal. That's how we evolved to be. Like, we shouldn't have those alarms going off all the time, right? And that's
no question.
Very convincing for carnivore diet, because you never go through that.
Right.
But literally, when was the last time you guys felt your blood sugar drop?
That's unheard of. I mean, I know what it was before, but after carnivore, I don't even know what that is. Oh, okay. I'll take it back. So maybe it's a little different nowadays. So maybe when my blood sugar drops, I may start feeling hungrier. Maybe that time.
But no,
yeah, like,
no. Go ahead, Just.
I was gonna say, yeah, just become ravenous, but I don't get like headaches. I don't get my energy will drop, but then I feel like I hit like another stage of ketosis. Like, I'll be hungry, and then if I don't eat within the next hour, then I'm not hungry again. And I feel like I could go another like 6 hours or something. It's really weird. And about the whole like having to eat all the time. So when I went to a naturopath who did know about blood sugar and stuff, her solution for me was to eat every 4 hours, just to make sure I eat every 4 hours. So it's kind of ridiculous.
Oh, wait, there is something else. So when there are times throughout the day when I'm fasting, longer fast, that right about 2:00 or so, I'll feel a lull. Like I could take a nap if I wanted to. So that might be a lower blood sugar. I mean, but it's totally different. It's totally different than what it was back then, obviously. I would get hangry. I would feel like passing out. So, this is a totally different thing from just, maybe I could take a nap kind of thing, big difference.
I remember those good old days where before I started keto, I would eat and literally I'd have my last bite and I'd fold my arms and put my head on the table and fall asleep.
Right after the last bite, you sound like me.
Yeah, it was, and it would happen all the time, and then I'd wake up all sweating. It was insane.
Right.
So
I'm glad I'm not there anymore. That's all I can say.
No, 100%. And look, I get my blood work done, and I get it done every 6 months, and everything's always fine. It's stable. It's been like that since I started getting it tested in 2018.
Yeah.
And my blood sugars are always the same. Always the same. Nothing changes.
Rock solid.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how much meat I eat, and I can test my blood sugar an hour later. It's just, as Tom says, it's just rock solid. It's,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So I have heard a lot of carnivores or some carnivores talking about getting their blood sugar down as low as 40s, and Becky's even down in the 30s. So, but she says she's perfectly operational, and all the rest of them, they say that too. So obviously we can get really low blood sugar, but I'm not sure that's such a bad thing. I don't understand the science of
Well,
that, but there's some people freak out about that.
well, I mean, we become so efficient, and I believe we, both of. So I always think of the beta hydroxybutyrate engine or the ketone engine, and then the glucose or carb engine as two engines that we have access to as our species. And not only do we become efficient at becoming fat burning, but we also actually become more efficient at glucose burning. And so it could be quite possible what's happening is that their bodies or our bodies use the glucose, and it just doesn't sit and swirl around in the blood. Because when people with high blood sugar, they're not getting enough insulin released, and so that blood sugar is just floating around the body and wreaking havoc. In our bodies, that never has a chance to happen. And so it sounds like low blood sugar, but instead of low blood sugar, because again, all these tests, a finger prick is an isolated moment in time in your body and says very little about the efficiency or how your body is actually using something. The only thing you can really test is that if you have too much in the body and it's floating around and circulating through your body, which is why we pay so much attention to high blood sugar. So my theory, or what I think is happening, is that Becky and most of us, our body's creating glucose, obviously non-exogenous, but I believe those that do dairy, when we consume our dairy, we get the blood sugar spikes, but it goes back very, very quickly because our body just releases the insulin, it eats it all up, and it doesn't get stuck floating around our body. And so, we get less blood sugar again. And then so when our body's producing that natural glucose, it's releasing the insulin, and then it's being eaten up and used. And then if you were to prick your finger, it would show your blood sugar is very low. At least that's what I think is happening.
Right.
So we just become, incredibly efficient at using our energy sources.
And I think
right. That's why
the key is efficiency. Yes.
And that is why, as our other topic that we were talking about before, coming on here, the honey and the berries topic, I think, yes, your body does become easier to metabolize those things. I see the effect as not positive, though, as more benign and playing with fire, especially for those that have past addictions with food or other issues. I did try some honey a few weeks ago, and I felt pretty terrible. I felt like I had acid reflux, a headache, and then I couldn't sleep that night for trying some honey. And so I don't think it's for me. I think, my body just didn't process it well, whatever that means. I don't think it's necessary. Again, with fruit, I've done fruit a handful of times, and every time I get like a stomach ache and a headache every time I do fruit. So what I think it is people are getting the sugar rush from it, but they're not getting the sugar crash because, again, they've fixed their metabolic dysfunction and they're able to efficiently release the insulin and take care of the excess glucose in the blood quickly. And so they get a little high, but they don't really get a low. And so it feels like they're doing better, including a little bit more carbohydrates, but I don't think it's actually having a beneficial effect on the body. I will put in a little caveat there for women, especially women that have had a gynecological issue, especially with menstruating, the lack of ability to, for some reason, and I keep hearing this story, adding in a little bit of carbs seems to resolve that, and I don't know why. But aside from that, I'm really not sure of any benefit to the average person.
Yeah, I think the overall issue is the body is made up of all these tightly regulated systems. And when you dump in a bunch of dietary sugar in the form of carbohydrates, then your blood sugar gets too high, then the body's got to release more insulin, and because your blood sugar is dysregulated. So if you just don't eat all those carbohydrates, your body will produce the glucose that you need, and you don't have to worry about all these problems that you're triggering. It's just like the people say, oh, if you eat meat, it'll make your body acidic, which is ridiculous. There's no science behind that whatsoever, because our stomachs are really acidic. They have a pH of like 1.5. The meat's actually going into a place that's far more acidic than the meat itself, right? For processing. And then we absorb the residual from that, from chewing and soaking in acid, right? It releases all those nutrients so we can absorb them. So again, you're not going to change your pH by eating meat, because the body tightly regulates the pH level of all kinds of systems, including your blood, your stomach, your intestines, all the fluids in your body, all the tissues in your body are tightly regulated, and you're not going to change the pH just by eating some meat, much less drinking some vinegar or something stupid like that. So, all right, enough dead silence. I think everybody's glazed over.
Any other criticisms on the article, or do you guys think it represented the carnivore community well? What do you guys think? What would you like to see more articles like these come out?
For sure.
Look, I think it's a good little brief summary of what the diet is, and it's up to the individual who reads it now to go in and investigate a little bit more. But I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
And, I just feel like, again, it always bugs me whenever it's sold as a weight loss thing, but I guess we'll take whatever we can get. It makes headlines. So many people want to lose weight. So, I mean, whatever gets people there, I guess, but I will want to put a caveat here that there are people that even on a carnivore diet that still struggle to lose the weight for a variety of factors. So we'll put that asterisk there in the video.
Yeah, I really feel like this article is kind of stating where the carnivore diet is in the space now. I think it's gaining more respect. So now people are noticing, I think. So it's affected enough people to, I think, move that needle. So that's what that article is the first of probably many that's going to start being more acceptable towards the carnivore diet. At least that is my hope. So we are making a difference.
Yep, I think we're creeping out into the real world. One steak.
Exactly.
Hopefully the next article that someone does, they're actually honest, and I say, we had some subjects, and over a 6-month period, this is what we saw, not after a week. I think that's got to be the next step now.
I agree.
And I highly suggest anyone that uses carnivore as a crash diet, I would imagine, just like all crash dieting, you will put on the weight back if you start eating carbs again, and you would probably feel pretty bad, and you'd probably gain weight on top of what you lost. So just want to throw that little caveat in there. Carnivore diet is not a diet. It is a lifestyle. There are many benefits, but you got to work it. You got to stick with it. It's pretty much those that are committed, once you have the results, I mean, it's basically lifelong. I don't think there's going back, honestly. Maybe people can, But I think saying bye to bread is pretty much done once you commit to carnivore.
Well,
So just keep that in mind.
There's always guys like Joe Rogan, and like he loves carnivore, does really good on carnivore, and the next it's like, yeah, but I'd rather eat linguine and clam sauce. I know it makes me sick and blah 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 blah. But so guys like that are always like saying it's great, but then they're just falling off the wagon for whatever reason. So
well, Justin makes a really good point. Once you commit to the carnivore diet, it gets easier the longer you stay on there. So it's not like after the first month, of course Joe Rogan's gonna want his linguine or whatever. Even 3 months, you're still gonna feel that way. But after a year, it takes some pretty hard convincing for you to go off of that diet. I have seen some 2-year carnivores go off, but really it gets real easy by then.
Yeah, and just throw in carnivore diet isn't just a diet based around beef. I mean, you can have your seafood, you can have a little bit of chicken, a bit of pork, some lamb, maybe organ meats if that tickles your fancy. So and there are lots of different cooking techniques as well. So it is interesting.
Yep, we even talked Joe into eating some kangaroo one day.
Yeah, that was a little bit too lean for me.
Yeah, but if you got to get in 800 grams of protein, buddy, you want
That's the way to do it. Yeah,
you need that much fat.
Yeah, I'd have a spring in my step by the end of it.
Might even sprout a tail
right.
Ouch.
His name will change from Joe to Joey.
Good one.
Skippy. Skippy the rescue.
Skippy Zumba.
All right, gents, any closing shots you want to throw at something there? Well, I'll tell
you guys should catch Raymond's new show, Carnivore Bites, with Raymond Muzan. Check out our other friends' channels, Confident Carnivore,
Steak and Butter Gal,
Janice,
Steak and Butter Gal.
Yes. What's Becky? Becky have a name for her channel?
Oh, it's Becky Niles.
Becky Niles, her buddy Becky Niles, Bart K, Pim Jansen, Brett Lloyd,
right? Sean Baker,
of course, Sean Baker,
Thankful Carnivore.
Yeah. So check the other people out too. They put out a lot of good content, answer a lot of questions, help a lot of people. So, anyways. Till next time, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
don't fall down the carb hole.
The carb hole.
Nice. You guys really